Hey, Richard Bryce, Tennis Hacker. In this video, we're going to be talking about what you can do to improve your focus and concentration. Now, these are essential skills in tennis, both for your ability to learn and improve. So if you're working on your technique, you need to be able to focus on specific things in order to make those changes. But this is also going to be really important for match play as well. And it's something that causes so many players problems, even at the highest level of the game. And what I would argue is, at a certain point, all players have got really good technique and tactic and that kind of stuff, and it's really the mental side of things, the ability to focus and concentrate, that really holds certain players back. So what we're going to be doing is talking about the things that you can do to improve it, because focus and concentration are skills. So I'm going to explain why that's important and what that means, but then I'm also going to talk about some of the things that really limit people and prevent them from improving their focus and concentration. And to do this, we're going to have to dive in a little bit deeper to the neurology side of things. Now, I am obsessed with getting better at tennis. I love this stuff, but we'll find out whether you enjoy it or not. So if you do enjoy the deeper neurology, leave me a comment down below and let me know, because then I can start making more videos like this, okay? Focus and concentration are skills that are controlled by a specific part of your brain. Now, we're going to talk more about the brain and the neurology in a moment. For now, the important part is that they're skills, which means to a certain extent they're within your control. The way that our bodies work, the way that our brains work, if we practice something, we get better at it. And this is a double-edged sword. So if you practice being more focused, you are going to become more focused. But conversely, if you allow yourself to lose focus, and the more that you do that, you're going to become worse at maintaining your focus. So the first step and the first thing that you need to do if you want to be more focused is you need to train it. You need to understand that the brain is plastic, it can change, it can adapt to what you ask it to do. So you have to make yourself focus better, both in your practice sessions, your practice matches, and your real matches. Obviously, the first place to start is within your practice sessions. You know, ultimately, you've got to keep your head still on contact. It's one of the most important things. It's an area where a lot of people have problems. They lift their head, and because of that, they miss shots. So you have to train yourself to do it. And you have to catch yourself if you make mistakes. So your job, focus on keeping your head still, keep your head still. You have to remind yourself over and over again. If your mind starts to wander, you have to bring yourself back and force yourself into doing it. Practice matches, there's lots of potential things that you can be thinking about. You have to make yourself focus on what you need to be focusing on. So again, for you, that might be keeping your head still on contact, or you might have patterns of play that you need to work on, depending what level you're playing at. You have to very consciously step on court, becoming aware of what you're doing, so that if your mind starts to wander and it thinks about something that it shouldn't be thinking about, you have to catch yourself doing it and you have to bring yourself back. Now, you're not a robot, so you are going to make mistakes. Even the best players on the planet make mistakes with this stuff. They lose focus, but it's how quickly you can bring yourself back. But again, the key is going to be, the more often that you practice doing this, the more you work on it, the faster you'll be able to bring yourself back. If you allow yourself to lose focus on a continual basis and you make excuses rather than dialing yourself in on what you should be doing, you'll get worse at being able to focus and concentrate. So that's the first thing that's important. You have to train your focus and concentration very deliberately, be aware of what's going on and work on it on a regular basis, and you will improve. But unfortunately, there are going to be limitations to that, so we need to talk about that now. Okay, so we've talked about focus as a skill. Now we need to talk about the limitations and things that could prevent you from improving your focus and concentration. Now, what this is going to come down to is that it lives in a specific part of the brain, and this is why we've got to talk about neurology a little bit. Focus and concentration are functions of something called the frontal lobe, which is the front part of the brain. It does other stuff as well, like movement, which is going to be an important thing that we can work on. But the front part of the frontal lobe is responsible for focus, concentration, decision making, and other executive functions. If that part of the brain isn't working optimally enough, you're not going to be able to improve your focus and concentration past a certain point, because if the part of the brain that controls something doesn't work properly, you can't do whatever that thing is. This is just the way our brains work. This is just the way our bodies work. Now, The way that you can identify if maybe this area needs a little bit of attention is, firstly, if you struggle to improve focus and concentration. So if you're working on it, you're trying to change it, and you just can't, you still lose focus all the time, it's an indication that this isn't working. So it could be a case of, if your job is to keep your head still on contact, but for some reason you just can't keep your head still, you keep on looking up every single time or far too frequently, that might be an indication. Or if when you're playing matches your mind just wanders and you cannot change that no matter how much you work on it, again, an indication that things aren't working optimally. Another indication that this area isn't working optimally is if you've got poor emotional control. So if you are constantly getting angry on court, you miss a simple ball in practice and you get mad and you smash rackets and you start swearing, that's an indication that this area isn't working optimally, because its job is to kind of control it. Another indication is going to be poor shot selection. If you know that you should be hitting a certain type of ball, okay, in this situation, I should be hitting cross court. In this situation, I shouldn't be going down the line, and you keep going down the line, that's really an indication that this area isn't firing on all cylinders. And then a final indication for this part of the brain is going to be your ability to get rid of unwanted thoughts. So if you keep on having negative thoughts, you're playing a match, you know what you need to do. You need to be focusing on your patterns of play. You need to be focusing on watching the ball and stuff like that. But instead, you cannot stop thinking about negative outcomes, and you're standing there going, oh man, I suck, I'm terrible. And you're just talking negatively yourself the whole time and you can't stop it. That's also an indication that this area isn't working as well, because you know that you're not supposed to be doing those things. And if you can't stop it from happening, they're all indications that you need to work on this part of the brain. So now that we understand that, we need to talk about what you can actually do to work on it. The first thing that you can do to train these parts of the brain and improve your focus and concentration is to train your visual system. Now this works on a couple of different levels. Firstly, just our attentional focus is heavily related to the visual system, so training your vision is going to be important for that perspective. But going a little bit deeper, the parts of the brain that create eye movements live really close to the part of the brain that deals with focus and concentration. So by specifically training your eye movements, we can train the part of the brain and kind of get that area working a little bit better. So to help you with that, I've created a free tennis vision starter program. There's a link down below. Start working on that. It's going to go part way towards helping you to address what's going on and to help you focus better on court. But sometimes we also have to dig a little bit deeper than this. Front part of the brain, the frontal lobe, is where focus and concentration live. The way that our blood flows, it goes from the bottom of our brain up to the top, and then from the back to the front. The reason that is going to be important is because in order for our focus and concentration area to work, we need to get oxygen to it and we need to get glucose to it. So we basically need to get energy to the front part of the brain. Now, why this is so important is if you aren't able to get enough energy to that part of the brain, it's not able to do its job properly. So one simple thing that you can do to help that happen is to get fitter. You know, this is why often people start to make mistakes towards the end of the match. They're tired, they're fatigued, they're not able to get enough fuel to that front part of the brain, so they start losing focus, missing silly shots, and having poor shot selection. That's why. So one thing that you can do is you can train your fitness and conditioning levels to hopefully be able to supply the front part of your brain for longer. But sometimes it goes a little bit deeper than that still. In order to get to this part of the brain, the blood has to go through other brain areas first. If other parts of the brain aren't functioning as optimally as they should, they're going to use more energy, because less efficient parts of the brain basically burn through more energy to do their job. So if other parts of the brain, either at the back of the brain, the bottom of the brain, aren't doing their job efficiently enough, it burns through your energy, so there's less energy going to the front part of the brain. And this can be a big problem for a lot of people, and it can be one of the major things that holds people back and prevents people from training their focus and concentration as much as they can. So what you might need to do is you might need to do some training to get the back part and the bottom part working. Now, in these parts of the brain, a lot of it's about sensation. So our balance system lives in the back. Balance system is going to be really important on the tennis court. It's something that a lot of people have difficulties with, and when you're serving, your head's moving in different positions, you're spinning, you're doing all the different things that happen in tennis, if your balance system isn't healthy, it's literally just going to rip through your energy, leaving very little for focus and concentration. The visual system, again, lives in the back part. There's a couple of different areas, but it heavily lives in the back part of the brain. So if your visual system isn't working optimally, if you think about the visual demands in tennis, it's insane. Your visual system has to do so much. And again, if there are small issues with the visual system, which when I test tennis players, there are very frequently lots of issues, again, it rips through your energy, and it's going to mean there's less energy going to this front part. It's going to make it harder to train focus and concentration. Our sensation and our movement lives back here as well. So if you have small movement deficits, there's a lack of coordination, there's other stuff going on, again, it burns through energy and it prevents energy getting to this front part of the brain. So there's lots of stuff that lives in this back part and this bottom part that might not be working optimally. And if it isn't working optimally, it really causes huge problems for focus and concentration. Now, I know this might sound a little bit complicated, but this is just the way the brain works. This is just the way the body works. And this is why some people just aren't able to improve their focus and concentration, because sometimes you have to do a little bit of work on all these areas. You have to train them, get them working more efficiently. And once that happens, they're not wasting all of your energy, and then the stuff at the front can work. So really, it's a kind of a 2-3-pronged attack for improving focus and concentration. The first one is you've got to train it, you've got to work on it consciously, because it's a skill, and the more we practice it, the better we get, up until a certain point. If we've got limitations, then we've got to think about fitness and conditioning, because improving your fitness and conditioning is going to help with this process. And then third, we've just got to make everything else work better so that it's not burning through energy. And by doing those 3 things, you can massively improve your ability to focus and concentrate. So it's not a miracle cure or anything like that. You have to work at it, but if you want to work at it and you want to change your ability to focus and concentrate, it can be done. Now, obviously, I can't teach you all of that stuff within this video because it's probably been long enough as it is, but this is the sort of stuff that I help players with in my program. So if you would like to potentially work with me on this stuff, I would love to try and help you. There's another link in that description that's going to allow you to schedule a free chat. I can learn more about your game. We can maybe identify what's going on in your body, if there's things that we can work on with this stuff, and then we can go from there. Okay. I hope you have enjoyed this video. If you're still watching at this point, then you're obviously very interested in the neuro, so that makes me excited. But like I said, if you like this stuff, leave a comment down below, and if in that case, I'll be able to make more videos on this, explaining kind of the real reasons why people have difficulties with a lot of the stuff that they struggle with on court.